911. What's the address of your emergency case then? Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
We heard and looked in. The garage door was up, and I thought the gentleman was backing out. And I went back to my house, but he never backed out. And I came back over, and his driver's side window is shattered, and he's battered and can't answer. He's inside. I don't know if somebody tried to shoot him or if he shot himself or what. I don't know. He didn't send an ambulance in a hurry. An EMT. He's still alive. He's moving.
Okay. What's going on with him?
I don't know. The driver's side window is all bashed in, and he's got blood all over his head. He's not responding to me. I think you need to hurry.
Yeah, I'm going to get him on the way to you. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay?
Go ahead, but send them as you're asking.
Yes, sir. They're already on the way, okay? Are you with him now?
I'm standing right outside the garage door.
Can you tell me how old he is?
I don't know. He looks like maybe 35 or 40.
Hang on 1 second for me, okay?
Okay.
All right, sir. I apologize about that. What was how old is the patient again? I'm sorry.
I can't tell. He looks maybe 35 or 40. I don't know.
Okay. And is he awake?
He's just moving his head around, but he's not responding. I've called his name, asked what's going on, or not called his name, but asked him what's happening. He's not responding to that, but his head's kind of rolling around.
Okay. Is he conscious?
Well, I can't tell.
Okay. Is he breathing?
I can't tell that. I'm assuming he's breathing if he's moving his head around.
Did you ever hear him talk or anything?
No.
Okay. You said he's sitting in the car, right?
Correct, in the driver's seat.
Okay, where exactly is he? In the driver's seat? You know,
in the driver's seat.
Is he in the garage or?
In the garage.
Okay. Can you direct the emergency crews to him, sir?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Just stay on the line. I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Okay.
If it's safe to do so, see if he is conscious and breathing or moving at all, okay?
It's not safe for me to do. I don't want to put my hand in here.
Okay. Well, help's on the way.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be standing by. And I've heard about break-ins in the area, and so I decided to walk over and take a look. And the garage door was up and asked him what was happening. And then I saw the window was shattered, and he's got blood. I'm going to be over here waiting for the EMT, honey. Okay, go ahead, but just tell the kids to hold on inside. They're okay. But tell them I'm out here.
All right, just stay on the line with me for now, okay, sir?
Okay,
I got him on the way to you.
Very good. I'm standing at the street, so if I see him coming down the street, I can direct him right in.
So he won't respond to you at all?
Not to me.
Holler at him or anything?
Yeah, he didn't respond, but his head's kind of moving around.
Okay.
But I've walked away from the car right now. I'm standing at the street, so.
And he's?
No.
Okay.
He's inside. The window's shattered. The garage door was up.
Okay.
Where is the vehicle dispatched from?
I'm not sure. Give me a second. I'll try to see where they are, okay? Is he still moving around?
I don't know. I'm standing at the street now trying to wait for your vehicle. Did you say you were checking on where it was?
Yes, sir.
Or where it's coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it coming from?
I'm checking.
Okay.
Got several people on the way. Looks like one person's coming from McClay Road.
Okay, well, it may take them a while to get here then. We're close to the hospital, so.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying his head is bloody now?
Yeah, it's been bloody. I mean, it's...
Okay.
The window shattered. I don't know if he's tried to shoot himself. I don't know what the situation is.
And it's the driver's side window, correct?
That's correct. He's still moving around, so he's alive.
Okay. Looks like I should have an officer coming up the roadway.
Okay, well, we need EMT.
Well, the officer's going to be there first. They're not going to come until we figure out what's going on, but they're on the way as well, okay?
He better be if this guy's got a shot living.
Yes, sir. They're on the way as well, okay?
Yep. It looks like could be an officer now.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's just coming up right now.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, sir, okay?
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Right.
What if I told you that the most dangerous weapon in a courtroom isn't evidence, it's intelligence? That sometimes, the smartest person in the room becomes the most scrutinized. On July 18, 2014, a renowned law professor was executed in his own driveway in broad daylight. More than a decade later, 5 people sit behind bars for his ending. But one person, the one closest to the victim, has never been charged. Her name is Wendi Adelson. And the question that haunts this case isn't just about what she knew. It's about what she chose to forget. Before we dive into this labyrinth of lies, loyalty, and legal maneuvering, make sure you're subscribed to Dark Trail Files. Because this case is still developing, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is one story where the final chapter hasn't been written yet. Now, let's begin. Tallahassee, Florida, a quiet college town known for its oak trees and university atmosphere. July 18, 2014. It was a Friday morning. Dan Markel, a highly respected law professor at Florida State University, had just dropped his 2 young sons off at their daycare. It was part of his routine, one he cherished. He was a devoted father who fought fiercely to remain present in his children's lives despite a painful divorce. He pulled into the driveway of his home on Trescott Drive in the upscale Benton Hills neighborhood just after 11 in the morning. He never made it inside. 2 men had been waiting. They had driven from South Florida specifically for this moment, traveling hundreds of miles with one purpose. They had tracked Dan's movements, studied his schedule, and positioned themselves for the perfect opportunity. As Dan sat in his vehicle, preparing to step out and walk into his home, multiple shots were fired through the driver's side window. The sound echoed through the quiet residential neighborhood. Dan was struck in the head. Neighbors heard the gunshots. One immediately called 911. First responders arrived within minutes, but the damage was catastrophic. Dan Markel was rushed to Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, where he fought for his life for 14 hours before succumbing to his injuries. He was 41 years old, a Harvard-educated scholar, a published legal expert, a father who loved his children, and now, a victim of a meticulously planned execution. This wasn't a random act of violence. There was no robbery, no confrontation, no signs of a struggle. This was calculated, planned, professional, a murder for hire. And at the center of the motive was a custody battle that would eventually unravel one of the most twisted family conspiracies in American legal history. Dan Markel had been divorced from Wendi Adelson for just over a year when he was shot. But their relationship had been deteriorating for far longer. What started as a marriage between 2 intelligent, ambitious attorneys had devolved into a bitter legal war. And the battlefield was their 2 young sons. Wendi wanted to relocate to South Florida, to Miami, to be near her family. The Adelson family was prominent there. Her father Harvey and brother Charlie ran a successful dental practice called the Adelson Institute. Wendi had grown up surrounded by wealth, control, and the expectation that her family would always be central to her life. But Dan Markel refused to let her take their children away from Tallahassee. He had built his career there. He was a tenured professor. He had a community, colleagues, a life he had worked hard to establish. And legally, he had rights. When the case went to court, the judge sided with Dan. Wendi was denied permission to move with the children. For most families, this would have been the end. A difficult compromise. Shared custody. Painful, but manageable. But for the Adelson family, this wasn't just a disappointment. According to prosecutors, it became a death sentence for Dan Markel. Because in the Adelson family, losing wasn't acceptable, and Dan Markel had just become the obstacle standing between Wendi and the life her family believed she deserved. The investigation moved slowly at first. Tallahassee police had a motor scene, shell casings, and a victim with no obvious enemies. Dan Markel wasn't involved in criminal activity. He wasn't known to have conflicts outside of his personal divorce. But as detectives began digging, patterns emerged. Surveillance footage from the neighborhood showed a silver Toyota Prius circling the area multiple times in the days leading up to the shooting. The same vehicle was captured on camera speeding away from the scene moments after the gunshots. License plate readers tracked the car's movements, and the trail led to South Florida. Then came the financial records. Large cash withdrawals, unexplained payments, money moving between accounts in ways that didn't add up for people with legitimate income. Investigators started building a network. They identified Luis Rivera and Sigfrido Garcia, two men with gang affiliations and a history of criminal activity. Both had traveled from South Florida to Tallahassee around the time of the murder. But why would two men with no connection to Dan Markel want him gone? The answer was simple. They didn't. Someone else wanted him gone, and they were willing to pay. The breakthrough came 2 years after the shooting. In 2016, Luis Rivera agreed to cooperate with investigators in exchange for a reduced sentence. He confessed. He implicated Sigfrido Garcia as the triggerman, the man who actually pulled the trigger and ended Dan Markel's life. But Rivera provided something even more valuable. He identified Catherine Magbanua as the go-between, the person who connected the hired killers to the money. Magbanua had a relationship with Sigfrido Garcia. They had children together. But she also had another connection, one that would blow the case wide open. Catherine Magbanua worked at the Adelson Institute, the family dental practice, and she had been in a romantic relationship with Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother. The money trail became undeniable. After Dan Markel's death, Catherine Magbanua received large sums of cash. Phone records showed frequent communication between Magbanua, Garcia, and Charlie Adelson. And text messages revealed a network of people all connected by one common thread, the Adelson family. Prosecutors believed they had found the source of the murder-for-hire plot. But proving it in court would take years, multiple trials, and testimony from people willing to turn on each other to save themselves. By 2019, Sigfrido Garcia was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Catherine Magbanua's first trial ended in a mistrial, but in a retrial, she too was found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. She received life in prison plus 2 consecutive 30-year sentences. Then came the bigger targets. In November 2023, Charlie Adelson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. His trial was a spectacle. Wiretap phone calls, FBI sting operations, testimony from co-conspirators, and in the end, the jury found him guilty on all counts. Charlie Adelson was sentenced to life in prison plus an additional 30 years for each of the conspiracy and solicitation charges. But the biggest shock came on November 13, 2023, just days after Charlie's conviction. Donna Adelson, the family matriarch, was arrested at Miami International Airport. She and her husband Harvey had purchased one-way tickets to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. They were attempting to flee. Donna was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Her trial began in August 2025, and on September 4, 2025, she was convicted on all counts. On October 13, 2025, Donna Adelson was sentenced to life in prison, with additional consecutive 30-year sentences for conspiracy and solicitation. 5 people convicted. Luis Rivera, Sigfrido Garcia, Catherine Magbanua, Charlie Adelson, and Donna Adelson, all serving life sentences or significant prison time for their roles in the murder of Dan Markel. But there's a 6th name that lingers over every courtroom hearing, every piece of evidence, every witness testimony. Wendi Adelson. Prosecutors have publicly named her as an unindicted co-conspirator. They've said in court filings and press conferences that Wendi is central to this case. Yet she has never been arrested. She has never been charged. And she continues to maintain her innocence. Why? Intelligence can be armor. But under pressure, even the strongest armor begins to show cracks. And Wendi Adelson's intelligence has been both a shield and her spotlight.
Now I want to talk about your knowledge and your belief on this. You're a smart person, right?
How am I supposed to answer that?
Well, let's go through your resume. You went to Brandeis University, right?
I did.
You graduated magna cum laude.
I did.
If you could explain to the jury what that means.
It means I studied a lot and got good grades.
All right. It means, and to speak, I'm from the Northeast. My Boston accent may give it away. It means you're wicked smart, right?
That's very
You had a high
nice. Thank
GPA,
you.
a very high GPA.
I work hard.
You also went and you got a master's degree from the University of Cambridge.
I did.
You were a Gates Scholar.
I was.
You then go to the University of Miami School of Law, which is a top-tier law school, Tier 1, right?
Okay.
Right? We're talking about your level of intelligence. You went to the University of Miami Law School, right?
I did, yes.
You also clerked at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, right?
I did.
Now, to get a clerkship out of law school, it's a very difficult thing to do, right?
It's challenging.
You have to have top grades. You have to go through a rigorous selection process, right?
Yes.
You then become a professor at the Florida State University College of Law, right?
Yes.
You're also a published author, right?
Now you're just embarrassing me.
This case everywhere. You'd agree with me on that, right?
I've been advised by my lawyer not to read it.
All right. Now, we're not talking about reading stuff. There's podcasts,
Also not to listen.
TV shows,
Also not to watch.
articles.
Don't read.
And so you've made the decision. Now, you're a lawyer yourself too, right?
I am.
And you made the decision, I'm not going to look at any of this stuff.
Correct.
I don't want to know what happened to the father of my 2 children.
Not I don't want to know what happened.
How can you say you love those boys if you don't care who killed the father that they loved?
You also have a separate obligation as an attorney to tell the truth, right?
Of course.
Okay.
I don't believe that I did.
You did not.
I don't remember doing that, no.
No further questions.
I don't remember exactly the timeline of that.
Okay, thank you. Lawyers, yeah.
I honestly don't remember.
Wendi Adelson isn't just educated. She's exceptionally credentialed. She earned her law degree and built a career as a clinical law professor at Florida State University. She specialized in immigration law, child advocacy, and disability rights. She published legal articles. She taught law students. She even wrote a novel. This is someone who has spent her entire professional life inside legal systems, understanding how they work, how arguments are built, how narratives are controlled, how words can be weapons or shield depending on how they are wielded. In every trial connected to this case, Wendi has taken the stand. And every time, she has presented herself as articulate, composed, cooperative. She answers questions with precision. She provides context when allowed. She elaborates on details that support her version of events. On the surface, she appears to be the ideal witness. Someone who is educated enough to understand the gravity of the situation, but honest enough to tell the truth. Someone who respects the legal process because she's a part of that world herself. But there's a pattern that emerges when you watch her testify across multiple trials. When she's allowed to explain, when the questions are open-ended, when she's given space to construct her narrative, her answers are smooth, detailed, even rehearsed. She doesn't stumble. She doesn't hesitate. She frames her responses in ways that feel practiced, as if she's anticipated every possible question and prepared her answers in advance. She provides context that shifts blame, clarifies misunderstandings, or reframes events in her favor. She's confident, assured, in control. But when she's challenged, when questions become sharp, when prosecutors or defense attorneys press her on inconsistencies, something shifts. The eloquence remains. The vocabulary doesn't change. But the confidence wavers. She begins to qualify her statements. Details that were once clear and vivid suddenly become hazy. Timelines blur. Dates become approximate. Conversations she once described with certainty are now remembered only in fragments. And what seemed like absolute knowledge moments before transforms into selective uncertainty. Is this the natural response of someone under stress? Is this what happens when anyone, guilty or innocent, is placed under the intense scrutiny of a courtroom cross-examination? Or is this the careful navigation of someone who knows exactly which memories are safe to recall and which are too dangerous to confirm? Because there's a difference between forgetting and choosing not to remember. And in Wendi Adelson's testimony, that line becomes increasingly difficult to identify. The courtroom becomes a stage, and Wendi Adelson knows her role. She's performed it in 4 separate trials now. Charlie's trial, Donna's trial, Magbanu's trial, Garcia's trial. Each time, the same composure, the same measured responses, the same ability to sound credible while revealing almost nothing. It's a skill, and it raises a question that no amount of eloquence can answer. Is this confidence? Or is this rehearsal? Family loyalty is sacred. But in this case, loyalty isn't just emotional, it's strategic. And Wendy's relationship with her brother Charlie has been dissected in every trial. Yet her position remains perfectly, almost impossibly, neutral.
I absolutely had a close relationship with my brother.
And how soon after the murder did your lawyer advise you not to talk to your family about it?
In 2016.
Okay, so what about the 2 years in between? Did you talk to him about it then?
I mean, I talked to him about the fact that a murder occurred, but I guess I don't understand the question.
But you never talked to him about the suspicions you raised in the law enforcement interview that your brother might have done it?
No, I did not.
You suspected your brother could have been a part of this, right?
I suspected lots of people could have been a part of it.
But he was one of the people, right?
While I was talking with law enforcement for 6 hours, terrified out of my mind, I offered them every possible idea I could come up with.
Right. And one of the possible ideas was that your brother could have murdered your child's father.
I didn't really believe that was possible.
Was part of the plot for you to be able to have plausible deniability about this?
Absolutely not.
Is it better for both you and your brother if you don't know the details of this?
I don't even understand the question that you're asking me.
When did you first become aware that you might be a suspect in this case?
I mean, as the ex-wife, I assumed I was a suspect from the beginning.
What was your first thought when you were asked if anyone might have murdered Dan Markel for your benefit?
I thought, oh my God, maybe if I hadn't divorced him, he would still be alive. Maybe this is my fault because I complained to the wrong person. Maybe Danny gave a student a bad grade and they came after him. I just was trying to think of who possibly could have wanted to hurt him.
But you didn't say any of that before. I mean, the first thing you said was Charlie, right?
I don't think so.
Page 25 of your interview, line 5 through 15. Do you have any reason to dispute? Page 25, not 5 hours into it. You say Charlie might have done it, right?
Can I see, please?
You may. This is going to be tab 1, page 25.
What I say here is that he would never do it. Right under the highlighted part, I say no, he would never.
Need a copy? No. Page 25, line 5 through 15. I mean, my brother, the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in that taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and then I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay or fix it, or whether I should get a new one. And it was always his joke that, he knew that Danny always treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. And you do say you don't think he would do it, but can we agree you brought up his name on page 25 of the interview?
I did.
When asked, would you ever ask someone to do something like this? You say not in a million years. When asked, okay, do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? You say no. And when Isom starts to ask you what good does it serve, you say, I mean my brother, the one, his name is Charlie. Isn't that how it went?
This is the transcript, but I think there's also inaccuracies in the transcription.
Oh boy. All right. Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I said.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly what I said right here. No, that's not right.
No further question.
In this family, silence speaks louder than words. Wendi has testified about Charlie Adelson multiple times across different trials, in different courtrooms, in front of different juries. She describes him as her brother, someone she was close to growing up, someone who cared about her well-being, someone who wanted to protect her during the difficult period of her divorce. She acknowledges their relationship. She confirms that they spoke frequently. She admits that Charlie was invested in her happiness and frustrated by Dan Markel's refusal to allow the relocation. But listen carefully to how she speaks about him. Analyze the language. Study the framing. She never defends him. She never says, my brother didn't do this. She never says, Charlie is innocent. She never testifies in a way that could exonerate him. But she also never condemns him. She never says, I believe my brother hired killers to end my ex-husband. She never testifies in a way that could directly convict him. She occupies a space that's legally brilliant and emotionally hollow. A space of careful neutrality during her brother's trial in 2023. Wendi was called as a witness by the prosecution. She was asked about a specific conversation she had with her then boyfriend, Jeff Lacoste. According to Lacoste's testimony, just days before Dan Markel's shooting, Wendi told him something chilling. She said, can I tell you something in confidence? Last summer, my brother looked into all options to take care of the Dan Markel problem, including hiring a hitman. It would cost about $15,000. When confronted with this testimony in court, Wendi didn't deny the conversation happened. She couldn't. Lacoste was credible, and there was no reason for him to lie. Instead, Wendi reframed it. She suggested it might have been a misunderstanding. She said her brother often made dark jokes. She implied that Lacoste might have misinterpreted tone or context. She acknowledged the words but stripped them of intent. It was a masterful deflection, because by doing this, she didn't perjure herself by denying something that could be proven, but she also didn't confirm that her brother had actually looked into hiring someone to harm her ex-husband. But here's what's striking. In all of her testimony, across all of these trials, Wendi never says her brother is innocent. She never says she believes he didn't orchestrate Dan Markel's ending. She simply says she wasn't involved. And that distinction matters. This isn't denial on behalf of her family. This is legal insulation. It's proximity without responsibility. She remains close enough to the family to maintain her role as the dutiful daughter and sister, the person who stands by her blood even when they are accused of terrible things. But she positions herself just distant enough to avoid legal entanglement, to avoid being charged as a co-conspirator, to avoid being dragged down with them. It's a tightrope walk. And Wendi Adelson has mastered it. But the performance required to maintain this balance is exhausting. And over the course of multiple trials, cracks have started to show. Emotion can reveal truth, but it can also obscure it. And in the hours after Dan Markel's shooting, Wendi Adelson's emotional responses would become one of the most analyzed pieces of this entire case.
Did your ID with you?
I just listened to my voicemail.
What'd you hear?
Who
was your voicemail?
It's from Lisa Carey, who is my real estate agent, or who I had gone with to find a house. She just said she was driving around town and she heard there was a shooting on Trescott.
Yeah. That's what this is about. I'm sorry you had to hear it that way.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I should.
It's all right. Just leave it there. Is it still on?
It's right there.
Hey, it's Lisa Carey. It is Friday, and I feel like an idiot doing this, but I just heard that there was a shooting over on Trescott, and I promise I'm not trying to be dramatic or even nosy. I don't know, just checking on you, my friend. I hope all is well. I hope your sweet boys are well, and if there's anything you need, let me know. It just ran a chill down my spine when I heard that there was something going on Trescott. All right, 212-3083. Hope all is well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
That's all right. You can stop it. Or does it stop automatically?
It's done.
Okay. Do you have your identification with you? So you never took the last name of Markel?
No.
Adelson. Okay. Wendi with an I. Joe. All right. There was a shooting at your home, or your ex-husband's home, at 2116 Trescott. Okay. Your ex-husband, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a message from this morning. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, and then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you have nothing to be sorry about.
I just don't understand. How did this happen?
Can you let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay. And
Oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was
And I
blocked.
just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something. Because sometimes
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
when I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and it's a oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, sometimes when I lived there were electrical things
Okay.
that would happen. I left my house around 12:15 because I thought I'll get the bourbon and then I'll get some gas for the car and I need super glue for one of the boys' toys, and I was trying to do all I can before meeting my two friends at 1.
Okay, Who was at your house this morning?
The only person that was at my house this morning was a guy from Best Buy, because my TV was broken and it's under warranty.
Good for you.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay, a guy from Best Buy was at your house to work on your TV?
I have his name and everything at the house if you want it, because the boys broke the TV, so he gave me a choice of fixing it or getting a new one.
What time did he come to the house?
He called me at around 8. He was probably there until around 10.
Okay. Okay. And then you
and then after he left, I kept working on a paper, and I emailed the paper to a librarian at school to work on some of the citations.
Okay.
And I don't think I talked to anyone else, but I was just working for an hour or so from the house. I was going to take a shower, but I didn't. I ran out of time. I did laundry. And then I left the house around noon.
To go to the liquor store and the stuff for the party?
Yeah.
Okay, you went down which road you said?
I went down Trescott.
Okay.
I saw a police car there, and I just thought it was blocked, so I just turned around and drove to, I went down the rest of Centerville, went up Benton, took Benton across, went to ABC Liquors, bought the bourbon.
I'm a little confused. You're up on Centerville Road. What's your purpose of driving down Trescott?
It's usually the shortcut to get to Monroe.
To get to Monroe?
I usually take it as a cut through to get to Thomasville or Monroe.
Okay, all right, so you...
I don't know why I said Monroe. I was thinking Mosaic, Monroe, Thomasville.
Okay, so when you come down into town on Centerville...
I almost always cut through Trescott.
Trescott and just drive by your old house?
Well, I do it as a way of, like, coming to terms with a divorce. But, yeah, sometimes I drive there. If I'm too sad, I drive around.
Okay.
If the kids aren't home and I know they're not home, I feel better about driving by the house. But, yeah, it's shorter, and I just usually drive by.
It's shorter than going all the way down to Benton?
All the way down Centerville and around Benton. It's just a shortcut I always took.
Okay, so you turned around and went back to Centerville, I take it?
Yeah.
Down to Benton, and went to the liquor store down there on Thomasville?
Yeah.
The one at Benton Road? ABC
Liquors, it's at, Benton. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, did you make a purchase there?
Yeah.
And that was sometime after 12?
Probably 12:30.
Okay. All right.
And I talked to a guy there because I don't really buy much alcohol, and so they wanted bourbon, and I asked the guy, we had a whole conversation about bourbon and my eyes, like...
your eyes?
He just said, your eyes are really blue, and...
You have contacts?
I do.
Okay.
But I just remembered it.
Right.
So I bought the bourbon and got some gas on Thomasville and met my friends at Mosaic.
Which gas station did you go to on Thomasville?
The one that's, I always forget the name, but the one that's close to the cross street. It's right next to the Goodwill.
Okay.
If you're heading north on Thomasville. If you're heading north on Thomasville, it's on your right.
Okay, just past the Goodwill
Just
place?
past the Goodwill. It's close to the intersection there.
Okay. All right, and then from that point, you went straight to the...
Went to Mosaic.
Mosaic restaurant?
And met friends there. I used to have kind of a steady Friday meeting, and I hadn't seen my two friends in a while. And so we had made plans to meet up.
What time did you get to Mosaic?
About 1. I was a little late. We were supposed to meet at 1, and I got there a few minutes after.
Okay. All right. I know it's cold in here. Okay.
I think that's not why I'm
okay. I know it's part of it, but do you know anybody that would have a beef against your ex-husband?
He's oh my God.
I hate to ask it now, but I have to do it now. You understand, right?
I understand. He had friends. He always meant well, but he would sometimes rub people the wrong way.
Okay.
But not anyone who would do something like this.
Anybody that he owes money to?
No, he owes money to me.
He owes money to you?
But not.
Okay.
Not me.
Okay. All right. All right.
Oh my God, we're poor kids. Oh.
really love him, but I don't know anyone who would do something like this.
Well, we're still trying to determine, what happened and how it happened.
But he wouldn't do this to himself.
Okay.
He was a very positive person.
Okay. No one that you know of or that he's spoken to recently that he's had some type of problem with or that he was concerned about?
No one that he was concerned about. I mean, we've been separated for 2 years, so I don't know,
right.
If he had something going on, I wouldn't know about it, but, I mean, I had lost my voice earlier this week, and so we had put off this conversation about our son's school and where he was going to go, and he, I know a lot of people didn't love him, but not anyone who would, hate him.
Okay.
He meant well. Everyone that knew him knows that he means well, but he can be a little argumentative.
Right.
But not he didn't owe anyone money. He didn't do anything except work and take care of his kids. He wasn't involved in anything bad.
Okay.
I can't believe this is happening.
I know. And he was a professor at the law school, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And your divorce has been 2 years, or the total separation, I'm assuming?
Total separation's been 2 years. Our divorce was finalized last summer around this time.
Okay.
He wouldn't do this to himself. He has a girlfriend now.
Do you know his...
Hours after Dan Markel was shot, police interviewed Wendi Adelson. She had an alibi. She was home, waiting for a television repairman. The same television that her brother Charlie had given her as what he jokingly called a cheaper alternative to hiring a hitman. That detail, revealed casually in the interview, would later become a cornerstone of the prosecution's case. But it's not what Wendi said in that interview that haunts investigators. It's when she showed emotion and when she didn't. There are moments where tears appear, moments where her voice cracks. But then, just as quickly, the composure returns. The tears stop. The conversation shifts, and Wendi becomes analytical again, discussing logistics, timelines, her schedule for the day. This isn't about whether the emotion is real. It's about the timing. Emotion is a switch, not a feeling. It appears when it serves the narrative, and it disappears when clarity is needed. For investigators and prosecutors, this pattern raises a question that's never been directly answered. If Wendi Adelson truly had no knowledge of what was coming, why does her grief feel so controlled? But the body cam footage was just the beginning. Because years later, Wendi would face something far more intense. A courtroom where the person on trial wasn't a stranger or a hired killer. It was her own mother. And the role Wendi would play in that trial would change everything. Testifying against family is one of the hardest things a person can do. But Wendi Adelson didn't testify against her mother. She testified for the prosecution, while somehow still protecting the woman on trial. It's a contradiction that defined the entire case.
Name and spell your name.
Wendi Adelson, Wendiadelson.
Ms. Adelson, where are you from?
I'm from Coral Springs, Florida.
And you live in another state now, currently, right?
I do, yes, ma'am.
All right. How are you employed?
I'm an immigration attorney.
How long have you been an attorney?
Since 2006.
And you're here pursuant to a state subpoena, is that correct?
Yes.
And that subpoena confers a type of immunity on you. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Which means that nothing you say here in court pursuant to that subpoena can be used against you at a later time. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean you could never be prosecuted. It just means that what you say in court could not be used in any future prosecution. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. I want to ask you about your ex-husband, Daniel Markel. Is that a fair and accurate photo of Mr. Markel?
Yes.
When did you meet him?
We met originally online. It must have been the fall of my first year of law school, so 2003.
Okay. And when did you marry Mr. Markel?
We married in February of 2006.
Were you living in Tallahassee at some point as a married couple?
Yes.
When did you move to Tallahassee?
We moved to Tallahassee my final year of law school, so that would have been in the summer of 2005. And we were here from 2005 till 2006. We spent a year at the University of Miami from 2006 to 2007, and then came back to Tallahassee from 2007 until 2014.
All right, and during the time that you were living here in Tallahassee, did you live over on Trescott Drive?
For some of the time that we lived here, yes.
And when your first child was born, were you residing at the Trescott Drive residence at that point?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have a photo of that here. Is that the Trescott Drive residence?
Yes.
And how many children did you have with Mr. Markel?
We have 2 children.
What were their ages at the time of their father's death?
It was 10 days before my older son's 5th birthday, so he was 4 turning 5, and our younger son was 3.5. The boys are 14 months apart.
And did there come a time when you and Mr. Markel separated?
Yes.
When was the separation?
It was in the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was mine.
How did your ex take that news?
Well, we talked about it many times before it actually happened, but when the separation became official, he was very upset.
And even though there were problems and issues and discussions, it was a surprise to him when it actually happened, right?
It was.
Okay. And was part of the reason for the separation your differing views on how to raise the kids pursuant to the Jewish faith?
I'd say it was a very small part, but it was a part.
Did you consider your ex to be a religious zealot?
No, I didn't think he was a religious zealot, but I did think he was using religion as a way of controlling me.
Donna Adelson's trial in August and September 2025 was the culmination of over a decade of investigation. The prosecution's case was built on wiretapped phone calls, FBI sting operations, and testimony from co-conspirators. But the most anticipated witness was Wendi, Donna's daughter, Dan Markel's ex-wife. The woman prosecutors believe knows more than she's ever admitted. When Wendi took the stand, the courtroom was silent. Donna watched her daughter intently from the defense table, and what unfolded was a masterclass in legal distance. Wendi testified about her mother's involvement in her life. She confirmed that Donna was controlling, deeply invested in Wendi's decisions, and furious when the court denied the relocation. She acknowledged that her mother had strong opinions about every aspect of her marriage, her divorce, even her choice of where to live. But when asked directly if she believed her mother orchestrated Dan Markel's ending, Wendi's answer was surgical. I don't have any information. Not I don't believe she did it. Not she would never do that. Just I don't have any information. It's the language of a lawyer who understands that belief is subjective, but information is a matter of record. And by framing her answer this way, Wendi avoided perjury while also avoiding support. This is proximity without responsibility. Wendi testified in a way that helped the prosecution build its case against her mother. She confirmed facts already in evidence. She validated timelines. She corroborated other witnesses. But she never condemned her mother. She never said the words that would have destroyed Donna's defense. And in doing so, she maintained her position as the family member who stands near, but never stands with or against. The moment Wendi Adelson walked to the witness stand in her mother's trial, everyone in that courtroom knew this testimony would define the case. And it did, but not in the way anyone expected.
Good morning. If you can just take your seat for right now, I will swear you in when the jurors re-enter the room. I believe even though the jurors indicated they did not have to go to the bathroom at this point, if we are once again dealing with the needs of 14 people, they might be in the bathroom, so wait for the knock. Okay. It's fun. I believe that we have a few jurors that do need to use the restroom. If anyone needs to stretch their legs or use the bathroom themselves, please take your opportunity now. Once we start with the testimony, again, the door will remain closed if you exit. Go ahead. Oh, before you leave the room, Ms. Fulford, once again, Mrs. Adelson, I'm going to reiterate the instruction that I gave to you last Friday concerning any reactions that you may have to either the testimony or the evidence in the case. I understand this may be a distressing thing for your child to be offering testimony in your trial. However, you are to control your expressions and your emotions. Do you understand those? Everyone can take their break. If you need to step down until it's time to testify, you may do so as well.
There's a moment in Donna Adelson's trial that legal analysts still dissect. Wendi is on the stand. She's supposed to be a witness, but the tone of the questioning shifts. The prosecutor's voice becomes sharper, the questions more accusatory, and suddenly, it doesn't feel like Wendi is clarifying facts. It feels like she's defending herself. Why does a witness sound like someone on trial? The prosecution wasn't accusing Wendi in that moment, but they were testing her. They were watching how she responded under pressure, how quickly she could pivot, how well she could maintain her narrative when confronted with inconsistencies. And Wendi, to her credit, held the line. But the optics were undeniable. This wasn't a cooperative witness helping to convict a guilty party. This was someone protecting herself from implication. If testifying in her mother's trial was uncomfortable, testifying in her brother's trial was something else entirely. Because this time, the questions weren't just about what she knew. They were about what she said, what she implied, and what she might have set in motion.
It's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or potentially someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you. I mean, that's what happened, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
When did you learn that Catherine Magbanoa was blackmailing your brother for the murder of your ex-husband?
Today.
So he never told you?
No.
You testified in Catherine Magbanoa's murder trial last year, didn't you?
I did, yes.
And she was convicted.
She was convicted, yes.
A crime for which she apparently is innocent because she was just a conduit for Sigfredo Garcia. Did you learn that today along with all of us?
Well, I learned that someone made that argument. I don't know whether it's true or not true.
Did your dad get any big gifts for his 70th?
I don't remember.
So there was no big lead up and discussion about some big gift that you were involved in, at least?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I gave him a present. I hope I did.
Do you remember what anybody gave him for that birthday?
I really don't.
Was the murder of Dan Markel your dad's big gift?
I mean, that's, of course not. That's a horrible thing to say.
What about the grandchildren, getting full unfettered access to the grandchildren?
My
Could that
parents
have been
had
the
full
big gift?
unfettered access to their grandchildren, always.
You want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
Somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I said.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly what I said
isn't
right
it?
here. Oh, that's not right.
No further questions.
During Charlie Adelson's trial in 2023, Wendi took the stand for what should have been a routine direct examination. But the moment the prosecutor began questioning her, the tone changed. It wasn't collaborative. It wasn't gentle. It felt like a cross-examination. The prosecutor pressed Wendi on the conversation she had with her ex-boyfriend Jeff Lacoste about Charlie looking into hiring a hitman. Wendi tried to reframe it, suggesting it might have been taken out of context, that her brother often made dark jokes. But the prosecutor didn't let her. Did your brother tell you he looked into hiring someone to harm your ex-husband? The question was direct, unavoidable. Wendi hesitated, and in that hesitation, something became clear. She wasn't there to help Charlie. She was there to protect herself. The prosecution wasn't treating her as a friendly witness. They were treating her as someone with something to hide. The examination became tense. Questions about timelines. Questions about conversations. Questions about what Wendi knew and when she knew it. And throughout it all, Wendi maintained her composure, but the cracks were visible. Her answers became shorter. Her elaborations less frequent. She stopped volunteering information and started answering only what was directly asked. It was a defensive posture, and everyone in the courtroom recognized it. But if the courtroom was uncomfortable, what happened outside of it was even more damning. Because Donna Adelson, sitting in a jail cell awaiting trial, began sending messages. And in those messages, she said something that prosecutors would later use to unravel the entire family's defense. In most trials, the defense tries to protect their client by attacking the prosecution's case. But in Donna Adelson's trial, her defense took a different approach. They pointed the finger at someone else, someone in their own family.
I wouldn't say without his influence in any way, but yes, they've grown up without their father.
He's not here to give them advice.
He is not.
He can't come to any of their functions, sports, anything else.
Correct.
They're not eating kosher like they would have with their father.
They are not.
They don't have him at all.
They don't have him in their lives day to day, no.
Because on July the 18th of 2014, he was brutally murdered in his driveway. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
Nothing further.
Redirect examination.
When you said you were an actor in someone else's show, whose show was it?
I think I felt like I just wasn't fully present in my own life, that I had always been a real people pleaser. And so there was an aspect of not always being true to myself and wanting to make other people happy.
And one of those people is your mom, right?
Yes.
And that's part of why you kept going with relocation, even when you kind of had some doubts about it, right?
I would say it's part of the reason.
Trials are supposed to have clear sides. Prosecution versus defense. Guilty versus innocent. But in Donna Adelson's trial, those lines blurred in a way that shocked even seasoned legal observers. because Donna's defense attorney suggested that the real guilty party might not be Donna at all. It might be Wendi. This wasn't subtle. The defense presented text messages from Donna to Wendi, sent after Charlie's conviction. In one message, Donna wrote, "Your brother protected you for years. Now you are not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you." In another, she said, "Everyone looks to protect you." These messages weren't just emotional outbursts. They were strategic ammunition. Donna's defense was clear. If anyone orchestrated this, it was Wendi, not Donna. The defense argued that Donna was a loving mother who got pulled into a situation created by her daughter's desires and complaints. For prosecutors, this was a gift. For years, they had been building a case that Wendi was involved, but they hadn't been able to charge her. Now, Donna's own defense was putting Wendi at the center of the conspiracy. But for the Adelson family, this was a betrayal. The unity that had held for over a decade collapsed in a single motion. Donna's defense threw Wendi under the bus to try to save Donna. Mother against daughter. Loyalty replaced with accusation. For Wendi, this had to be devastating. Her own mother's defense, in open court, arguing that Wendi was the real mastermind. That Wendi manipulated everyone around her. And while Donna's defense didn't explicitly call Wendi a murderer, the implication was unmistakable. Denial is powerful, but only if it's believable. And when Wendi Adelson was asked directly if she was involved in plotting her ex-husband's ending, her answer would be replayed, analyzed, and questioned for years to come.
Were you in any way involved in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
No.
Did you maybe know it was going to happen but not know the details?
I did not know it was going to happen, and I did not know any details.
Did you provide any information, even unknowingly in hindsight, that you think could have been used to assist the murderers?
I don't think so. I didn't provide any information.
What information do you have regarding your mother's involvement in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
I don't have information.
But you do admit that your brother said he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel.
I don't. I admit that my brother made a tasteless joke repeatedly about buying me a TV because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
But then someone did hire a hitman who did kill Dan Markel, right?
Yes, that happened.
Was part of the plot to kill your ex for you to have plausible deniability or to know very little about it?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Were you shielded from the plot because, I don't know, you couldn't be trusted to keep a secret?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Why did you tell investigator Isom in your law enforcement interview that you were worried the police, or you were worried, I guess, in the police car on the way to be interviewed, that you might be considered a suspect?
Because I couldn't think of anything bad going on in his life other than the divorce. And frequently the ex-wife is a suspect.
Were you treated as a suspect?
I was not.
But you mentioned 9 times in your law enforcement interview being a suspect, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Were you, in any way, involved in the plot to end your ex-husband? The question was direct. The courtroom was silent. Wendi Adelson looked at the prosecutor and said, no. One word. Definitive. Final. But the problem with denial in a case like this is that it exists in a vacuum. Wendi has denied involvement in every trial, every deposition, every interview. She has said no dozens of times across multiple courtrooms, multiple years. But denial doesn't answer the lingering questions. It doesn't explain the conversation with her ex-boyfriend where she revealed that Charlie had looked into hiring someone. It doesn't explain her alibi, carefully constructed around a television gifted by the same brother who joked about the cost of a hitman. It doesn't explain why her mother's messages suggest that Wendi was protected while everyone else went to prison. Denial is easy when you're smart enough to know what can and cannot be proven. And Wendi Adelson is exceptionally smart. She's a lawyer. She understands burden of proof. She understands that as long as there's no recorded conversation where she explicitly says the words, as long as there's no financial transaction that directly ties her to the killers, she can deny everything. But there's a difference between legal innocence and actual innocence. And in the court of public opinion, in the minds of investigators, Wendi's denial feels increasingly hollow. Because too many pieces fit. Too many coincidences align. The prosecutor followed up. Did you provide any information that could have been used to assist in the murder? Wendi paused. I don't think so. I didn't provide any information. Notice the shift. From no to I don't think so. From certainty to qualified uncertainty. In 2011, years before Dan Markel's ending, Wendi Adelson published a novel. It was supposed to be about human trafficking, about victims, about justice. But hidden in the pages was a character that prosecutors believe reveals more about Wendi than she ever intended.
And is that the only book you've written, or have you written more than one book?
I've only written one book.
What was the book about?
The book was about human trafficking and about the vulnerabilities that lead to trafficking, the problems when it occurs, and basically how to recover from it after.
Where was the book set?
It was set in a fictional town.
What was the name of the fictional town?
Hiawassee Springs.
So Hiawassee. Is it located in the panhandle of Florida?
No, I used to see the name when I was driving from Tallahassee to Orlando, so it's somewhere in between.
And was the place modeled after Tallahassee?
It was definitely somewhere in Florida, but not supposed to be about Tallahassee, no.
Who was the central character in that book?
So there's three central characters. One was one of my clients, kind of a composite character from Eastern Europe. One was kind of a composite character of many clients I've represented from Latin America. And one was a public interest lawyer.
And was the public interest lawyer Lily?
Yes.
And is that the character that's sort of based after yourself?
No, really more based after a friend of mine.
And was Hiawassee, Florida, quote, just a small stop on the way back to what we had previously known as civilization? Is that a quote from your book?
That sounds like a quote from my book, yeah.
And who's the husband of Lily, the public interest lawyer?
You want his name in the book?
Yes.
I think it was Josh Stone.
All right, and what was Josh's employment?
Josh was an English professor.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Josh was an English professor.
A professor, where did he teach?
It's been a while. I wrote the book over 10 years ago. I don't remember what I named the university in the
North Florida State University?
That sounds right.
NFSU?
NFSU sounds right, yeah.
All right, and in the book, does Lily lament, quote, we moved to this godforsaken place for Josh's career?
Yes, that sounds like a line Lily would say.
All right. When you looked at page 187 of the divorce document on cross, and I'll hand that back to you. This is actually my copy. Just turn back to 187. Do you see the quote that you read previously from that page?
I don't.
Okay. It had to do with if I can find it. That you were very unhappy in the marriage. I think it's the third paragraph there.
I see that line.
Okay, the wife has been very unhappy in the marriage and files her petition for dissolution of marriage in August 2012. The husband continues to characterize this as abandonment, and then it goes on to say that he had been disparaging you to some of the folks at the law school. Do you remember reading that?
I do.
Was that intended to be the place in this binder where you allege emotional abuse by your husband?
I mean, I think it's emotionally abusive to suggest somebody has mental health issues.
Okay. What is the Prof's blog? You were asked about that on Cross.
Yeah, it was a blog that Danny started with some of his colleagues to kind of promote community in the law professor world.
And who reads the Prof's?
Probably other law professors and people interested in becoming law professors.
Who is on the Crim Prof listserv?
I don't know.
Were you on the listserv for that Prof's blog?
I may have been on the listserv at some point.
Do you remember seeing the post that you were shown on Cross?
I do.
And the post says something about Danny and I are planning to attend a conference that will begin Sunday, July 20th. Is there any other information on what you were shown about Dan's travel plans post-murder other than that?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
The post says Danny and I guess it's another professor writing this thing. Danny and I are planning to attend a conference that will begin Sunday, July 20th. Is that the type of information that he would typically have on something like the Prof's blog or Facebook?
That sounds right.
Okay, but as far as the date he's leaving, the flight he's on, that kind of stuff, would that typically be on the Prof's blog?
He wouldn't put what flight number he was on, but he would almost always communicate when he was going on a trip.
Okay, so going to a conference that starts July 20th might be an example.
Flying to New York tomorrow would be an example,
okay.
But not a flight number.
But he didn't put flying to New York tomorrow on this occasion?
No.
You were referenced several times, not on direct examination by the state, but by your brother's attorney on Cross as a co-conspirator. Are you charged in this case?
No.
This isn't your trial, is it?
No.
Is your brother charged with conspiring with you to do a murder?
No.
Is he charged with conspiring with you to plan a murder?
No.
Is he charged with soliciting you to do a murder?
No.
Who is he charged with doing those things with?
I don't think anyone.
Have you had an opportunity to review his indictment in this case?
I have not.
Give you an opportunity to take a look at that document to yourself. Who is your brother alleged to have done these crimes with?
Catherine D. Magbanowa.
Were you on the wire in this case, Ms. Adelson?
No.
So when the bump happened, are you familiar with the event I'm referencing as the bump?
I am now.
When law enforcement approached your mother on the street and handed her a piece of paper?
Yes.
Okay. When that occurred, who did your mother call?
I don't know.
Not you, right?
Not me.
Okay. And once your brother found out about the bump, did he call you about it?
No.
Who did he call?
I don't know.
Well, you listened to the calls to authenticate the voices, didn't you?
Just to hear the voices, not to hear the content of the calls.
Okay. And the voices were your brother's voice, right?
But I listened to the calls just to hear who was on them, so I don't know what content they're referencing.
I heard your answer. My question to you now is, your brother's voice was on the calls.
He was on some of the calls I listened to.
Okay. Your mother's voice was on the calls.
She was on some of the calls I listened to.
Did you have any secret meetings with your brother post bump that happened in South Florida?
No.
You were asked about Jeffrey Lacasse and the way that your relationship ended. What is OkCupid?
OkCupid is a dating website.
Were you on that dating website?
I was.
Were you on that dating website at the time that you were dating Mr. Lacasse?
No, I wasn't.
And were you speaking, so I guess if you weren't on it, you weren't speaking to multiple men from the website during the time you were dating Mr. Lacasse. And I'll remind you that you provided your phone in this case and it was cell-brighted, downloaded.
Objection, argument.
Fiction doesn't prove guilt, but it often reveals obsession. Wendi Adelson's book, This Is Our Story, was published in 2011, years before Dan Markel's ending. The book tells the story of trafficking victims and an immigration attorney named Lily who helps them navigate the legal system. But buried in the narrative is something else. A subplot, a character study, a woman named Lily who is a lawyer stuck in a small Florida town because of her husband's job. Prosecutors have long believed that Lily isn't just a character. She's a self-portrait. And while the book ends with Lily expressing gratitude to her husband for bringing her to that town, that ending was written before Wendy's divorce became final, before the custody battle turned vicious, before the relocation was denied. What the book reveals isn't a confession. It's a state of mind. A woman who felt trapped. A woman who resented her circumstances. When Wendi testified about the book in her brother's trial, she insisted that Lily was based on a friend, not herself. She pointed to differences between the fictional character and her own life. But the parallels are impossible to ignore. A lawyer in a small Florida town, stuck there because of her husband's career, wanting to leave but unable to, feeling resentful, trapped, confined. And here's what makes the book particularly haunting. It was written during the marriage, during the time when the cracks were forming but the relationship hadn't completely fractured. It's a window into her mindset before the divorce, before the custody battle, before the murder. And what it shows is someone who was already feeling trapped, already seeing her husband's career as the barrier to her happiness. For prosecutors, the book isn't evidence of murder, but it's evidence of motive. It's evidence that long before Dan Markel was shot, Wendi Adelson saw him as the reason she couldn't have the life she wanted. And motive matters, because while 5 people sit in prison for Dan Markel's ending, the question of who truly wanted him gone has never been fully answered. Was it Donna, the controlling matriarch? Was it Charlie, the brother willing to do anything for his sister? Or was it Wendi, the woman who stood to gain everything? There's something haunting about how Dan Markel is discussed in these trials. He's referenced constantly. His name appears in every testimony, every piece of evidence. But is rarely acknowledged as a person. Here's the problem. The obstacle. The reason the family couldn't relocate. The reason the custody battle existed. Dan Markel was a devoted father. He loved his children fiercely. He was a respected scholar, someone who contributed to legal academia, who taught students, who published groundbreaking work. He was a human being with dreams, with goals, with a life he had built through years of hard work. But in the language of the Adelson family, he's reduced to an inconvenience, a barrier, something to be managed or removed. This linguistic erasure is subtle, but it's telling. Because when someone becomes a problem instead of a person, it becomes easier to justify extreme solutions. When you stop seeing someone as a father and start seeing them only as an obstacle, the moral calculus shifts. What's particularly painful is that Dan Markel never knew what was coming. He fought his legal battles believing that the system would protect him. He was wrong, and the price he paid was his life. His children grew up without their father. His parents lost their son in every trial. Prosecutors remind the jury of this. They show photos of Dan with his children. They call witnesses who describe him as kind, dedicated, passionate. They humanize him, because in a case where he's often discussed as an obstacle, it's critical to remember that Dan Markel was a person, and his ending wasn't just a legal problem. It was a tragedy. Sometimes sounding smart is the smartest defense. And Wendi Adelson has wielded her intelligence like a shield. Every answer is measured. Every response carefully worded. She uses legal terminology, frames questions before answering them, and redirects when necessary. Intelligence can alter perception. A well-spoken witness seems more credible, more trustworthy, more believable. But intelligence doesn't equal innocence. And in Wendi's case, her sophistication has become both her greatest asset and her biggest liability. Because the more polished the delivery, the more rehearsed it feels. On July 18, 2014, a neighbor called 911. The audio is frantic, desperate. A man has been shot. He's bleeding. The operator is trying to get information. This is what real shock sounds like. Now contrast that with Wendi Adelson's interviews and testimony. Hours after the shooting, she's composed. She's answering questions logically, methodically. She's discussing her schedule, her alibi. And while everyone processes trauma differently, the emotional gap between the 911 call and Wendi's responses is stark. It's not proof of guilt, but it's a window into two incompatible emotional worlds. One filled with chaos, the other with control. In a trial full of questions, one remains untouched. No prosecutor has ever asked Wendi Adelson directly, "Did you want your ex-husband gone?" They've asked if she was involved in the plot. They've asked if she provided information. They've asked about conversations, timelines, relationships. But they've never asked about desire. Maybe it's because the answer doesn't matter legally. Maybe it's because asking would open a door the prosecution isn't ready to walk through. Or maybe it's because everyone already knows the answer. And sometimes, the most powerful questions are the ones left unspoken. As of January 2026, Wendi Adelson has not been charged. But prosecutors have made it clear. Stay tuned. Donna Adelson's conviction included text messages and jail calls that implicate Wendi more directly than ever before. The FBI has been building a case for years. Legal analysts believe that if charges are coming, they're coming soon. Because the prosecution now has something they didn't have before. They have 5 convicted co-conspirators. They have Donna's text messages explicitly stating that Wendi was protected. They have wiretap conversations. They have a paper trail of money and communications that all point back to the Adelson family's desire to remove Dan Markel. But charging Wendi is complicated. She's smart. She's careful. She's never said anything in a recorded conversation that directly incriminates her. And prosecutors know that if they charge her and lose, that's it. Double jeopardy means they can't try her again. So they're being careful. In the meantime, Wendi has moved on with her life. She changed her son's last names from Markel to Adelson, claiming it was for their safety but effectively erasing their father's identity. She cut off contact between Dan's parents and their grandchildren. For 6 years, Dan's parents had no contact at all with their grandsons. Since then, interactions have been limited to supervised Zoom calls and short visits. Wendi continues to teach law at Florida State University. She works in immigration advocacy. She presents herself as someone dedicated to justice. But the contradiction is stark. How does someone who claims to care about justice remain silent while 5 people go to prison for a crime she insists she knew nothing about? The question that haunts this case isn't just about guilt or innocence. It's about knowledge. What did Wendi Adelson know? And when did she know it? Because even if she didn't pull the trigger, the evidence suggests she knew something was coming. And in a conspiracy, knowledge is enough. This case isn't about one person. It's about a family that valued loyalty over morality and protection over justice. Dan Markel is gone. His children have grown up without their father. And the Adelson family has fractured under the weight of its own secrets. Wendi Adelson remains free. She walks the same streets where her ex-husband was executed. She teaches at the same university where he was a beloved professor. But freedom and innocence are not the same thing. And as this case continues to unfold, one thing is certain. The final chapter has not been written. The investigation continues. And Wendi Adelson must know that time is running out. Because in cases like this, the truth has a way of emerging. It might take years, but it emerges. And when it does, there's nowhere left to hide. If this case gripped you the way it's gripped the nation, make sure you subscribe to Dark Trail Files. This is a developing story, and we'll be here to cover every new development, every courtroom moment, every twist in this ongoing investigation. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us as we follow the trails others won't. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop questioning. This is Dark Trail Files.